Yeah, I mean, there's really no other way to put it. That just absolutely sucked.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Wednesday here, halfway point of the week. And we are halfway through this series against the Chicago White Sox at one game apiece as the Tigers get absolutely smacked by the South Side. That is an 8-1 loss. The Tigers fall to 40-22 on the season. So first thought after this one, honestly, my actual first thought was just the White Sox have had this weird thing this year where, and it's certainly very far from every single game, but especially in April, they kind of had this weird theme where like they were losing a lot, but when they did win, they were blowing teams out, and it was just kind of like a weird dynamic. And this just reminded me of that. But this was a brutal ball game. This was, from the Tigers' perspective, obviously. This was really rough. Most of, not all, some of it was just the Tigers didn't play well enough, but most of the earlier damage that the White Sox did, and I say earlier, they didn't score until the fourth inning, and then the home run was in the sixth, was avoidable. Like the first half of those runs that were scored were pretty avoidable. Pitchers playing defense prevents a lot of that. This just sucked. And like the season isn't over or anything, okay? You can still win 3 of 4. Winning 4 games in a series is hard. Yes, even when the opponent is the White Sox. I think the only team that kind of like you can't say that about right now is probably the Rockies. So like you can still take 3 of 4 and no one will remember this, you know, if you don't let this snowball into something bigger than what it is, which is just a really bad night. But geez, was it a bad night. Gross and extremely frustrating baseball. We'll start with what went wrong, obviously, in a loss. I do want to start off by focusing on the defense because yesterday we kicked off the show by starting. What am I saying? We kicked off the show by talking about how great the defense was yesterday. Today, you have Brennan Hanafy with a brutal throwing error that really spiraled kind of out of control. Tyler Holton with a ball that bounces off of his glove changes that inning. That home run doesn't happen if he's able to field that. It's just, again, that most of these runs, especially the first 4 runs against, were very avoidable and would have led to a completely different ball game. Let's focus on Hanafy a little bit more. 1 2/3 innings pitched, no hits, which I guess is nice. No runs to his name. He did give up a run, and that would be tagged on to Brant Herter, unfortunately. We'll talk about him later. 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 3.07 ERA now on the season. So, I mean, he recovered in the following inning, which is good. Like, it was nice that he was able to kind of buckle down and go back out there and in a bullpen game, get some outs and you know, very important innings for not even full innings, even if it is just a couple of outs here and there in a bullpen game, as we became very accustomed to down the stretch last year. But his inability to throw a strike and what was at the 4th inning was absolutely brutal. and there, that only cost them one run. There ended up being much bigger fish to fry here, but that is something that is very frustrating for a guy that is known for pounding the strike zone and being more of a pitch to contact type of pitcher. You lose your value as a pitch to contact pitcher when you cannot throw the ball in the strike zone, because believe it or not, you're not making contact if you're not throwing the ball in the zone. So something that, again, like, I'm going to just chalk it up to one night. He has been in the zone most of the season. I don't think this is something that's going to like spiral out of control, but in this game was super frustrating. Tyler Holton, on the other hand, I think it is probably fair to start kind of raising question marks in regards to his role on the team going forward. Goes 1 inning, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, no strikeouts, and obviously the home run to Michael A. Taylor. His ERA on the season is now 4.39. And it would be one thing if the splits were the same, right, where he was still like getting lefties out and, maybe was just, I don't know, it was catching up to him a little bit and he was still like really strong against left-handed bats. And the command maybe was still solid. But aside from the fact that the command has been absolutely brutal, that home run to Michael A. Taylor, that was a meatball down the middle. That is what that pitch, I think, was literally called. The issue I have is that lefties are crushing him. Left-handed hitters against Tyler Holton in 2025 are hitting over 300 and have an OPS in the 800s. It's June. That's a problem. That is a massive problem for a team that doesn't have, like, maybe outside of Holton, those super high leverage left-handed relievers. That's an issue. So I think that, I just first and foremost hope that it gets figured out and that he's able to iron all that out. But as we get closer to the deadline, if he doesn't figure it out, that's something that the Tigers might be looking to acquire, maybe some roster moves internally to get some more lefties opportunities, etc. Because what he's provided the Tigers so far this year is just simply not going to cut it. But he's been so dominant the last 2 seasons that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and think, okay, maybe this is like something that with some adjustments he can get back into his groove. But this year has really been a struggle. Dylan Smith also struggled in this one. 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts. His ERA in just 2 appearances is now 6. I still really like the stuff a lot. But I'll be real with you. I think anybody that watched this game could kind of tell it really felt like he had no clue where the ball was going this entire outing. Really rough command. I'm talking like really, really rough. Rough enough where I think that when Sawyer Gibson-Long hopefully gets activated from the injured list on Wednesday, that Dylan Smith it kind of makes sense for him to be the one that is sent back down. Major league caliber stuff. I stand by that, and I still believe that. He just has to work on it a lot more. He's still an unfinished product, and it was nice to get a glimpse of what could be down the road in this little, 2-appearance stint here, but still a lot to work on, and that consistent command is probably the biggest thing that he needs to work on, at least from what we saw in this small sample size. Then Chase Lee struggled. I'm not really too worried about that. He's a righty specialist that had to just kind of wear it a little bit, and like he was going to pitch that inning no matter what. They were going to burn through another pitcher given the score and the fact that it was a bullpen game. So he's been so good this year. I need to see him do that like 2 or 3 more times before I start freaking out about that. Let's talk about the offense, which was absolutely brutal in this one as well. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered where on earth did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. That's the coolest part about it. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery and stuff like that I really didn't need to. And now I budget smarter and I save a lot more. Managing money with your partner has also never been easier and smoother than it is with Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page all in one place without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 3 against the White Sox in this 4-game set. Hopefully recapping a much better ball game than what was played on Tuesday night. So we talked about the defense. We talked about the pitching. Let's focus in on the offense here. I want to start with the offensive approach against Smith for the White Sox. That is a good pitcher, okay? And I have a lot of frustrations with this ball game. The offensive production against the starter specifically is really not one of them. And I will go into my frustrations against a bad bullpen. The Tigers were just unable to do anything despite getting runners on base against the bullpen where pretty much everybody that was thrown out there for the Sox had an ERA over 4 or 5. But the starting pitcher, again, Smith is a wonderful talent and has been great this year. His ERA on the season after this outing is now 2.45. He's good. He's really good. So I think that it's important. Context is always important there. The Tigers only mustered 5 base runners against Smith in that 5 1/3 innings pitch. Did make him work a little bit and were able to get to the bullpen in the 6th inning. And that's pretty much what you can ask for against a pitcher that's pitching like he is this year, right? Like he's got a lot of high pitch counts. He's walking batters, but he's not allowing runs. And so the sooner you can get to the bullpen, the better, especially a bad bullpen in the South Side. And that snowballs into then the poor offensive performance really this entire ball game. It would be one thing to be able to throw you a bone and be like, oh, don't worry about what they did against the really good starter. Look, they crushed the bullpen. That unfortunately was not the case. They end this game with 1 run. There were a few situations specifically that just absolutely infuriated me. So the first one I want to highlight was against Booser, who is the lefty reliever, the first reliever that came out of the pen for the White Sox. You have Riley Greene and Spencer Torkelson due up with 2 outs. Riley Greene, well, first you have, we'll talk about this actually in a second, but first you have Andy Ibanez pinch hitting for Kerry Carpenter. So now you have lost Carpenter for the game, and Andy Ibanez has been brutal. He strikes out, just absolutely infuriating. So then you have Riley Greene up with 2 outs. He draws a walk against the lefty. That's great. Okay, that's fantastic. Torkelson, now you are in a position where in a 1-run ball game, Torkelson has an OPS over 1,000 against lefties, and Booser has horrid stats against right-handed hitters. This is exactly what you want. Runner on base, Torkelson up. The matchup is in your favor. The splits are all in your favor, but they play the games for a reason, and they don't play them on paper. And Torkelson gets force-fed like 3 fastballs and does absolutely nothing with them. And like, this is, again, I cannot stress this enough. This is a microscope of just this game. Torkelson has an OPS like over 900 in high leverage, with runners in scoring position, those high leverage situations this year. He's obviously having a fantastic season, is in top 10 in RBIs, is in top, 10 or 15 in home runs. He's having a great year Okay, I'm not trying to say like this completely changes my viewpoint of him. That was just a brutal at bat. And he gets 3 fastballs, fouls all of them off, and then gets a slider, back leg slider, as opposite platoon pitchers love to do, and he swings right through it. Really, really rough at bat there. Then later in the game, you have Dylan Dingler RBI double. Okay, gets you a run on the board. It's now 4-1 because the Michael A. Taylor homer had already happened. So there's a man on second, no outs, and you're down 3 to the White Sox with a bad bullpen. I think there's probably a lot of White Sox fans out there that were like, okay, here it is. Like, now they're going to blow it. Trey Sweeney, high fastball over the heart of the plate, just a pool noodle of a swing. The ball goes like 150 feet. Just an absolute duck to center field. Doesn't even allow for Dingler to tag up. Javi then gets a hanging slider. First or second pitch of the at-bat, a very hittable hanging slider. Pops that up, doesn't leave the infield. And then Parker Meadows comes up, fastball, heart of the plate, close to middle. Actually does hit the ball hard to his credit, but line drive to the center fielder. And you get nothing out of man on second. No, it's if you can even bring him home, then you're talking about 2 runs in 2 or 3 innings against, again, as I've said a billion times already, a bad bullpen. Then in the 8th inning, you have the bases loaded. Bases loaded, 1 out. Winfield Perez comes up, strikeout, swings. He has a full count. He swings at a ball that almost bounces on home plate, fouls it off at least, then gets a fastball at his eyes, swings through that one. Full count, 2 pitches that are nowhere near the strike zone, and sits down. And then Dingler gets a fastball over the heart of the plate, hits it hard to right field. To his credit, just didn't get the batted ball look. And I think that Winfield Perez, something that I'm really focusing on going forward. He's been so great since coming back from injury, obviously. And he's been a very welcomed addition to this lineup. But he is a switch hitter that hasn't hit lefties well. The point of being a switch hitter is to always have the platoon advantage. So if you don't, that's a problem. So I'm interested to see how that situation develops over the course of the season. Andy Ibanez, the at-bat he had was brutal. I don't know. I think we're probably getting relatively close, barring a huge turnaround from him, to the end of the Andy Ibanez experience when some more players get healthy here. And it's not just the fact that they were brutal at bats. It's the fact that they were brutal at bats and you burned through Kerry Carpenter. All in all, that is 11 base runners for the Detroit Tigers, 1 run scored. That is just not good enough in clutch hitting. 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position against a bad bullpen. Gross feeling, a frustrating game, but it's just one night. You move on. You're going to have off nights through over the course of 162 games. This was just very much one of them. Okay, so perspective is important. It's early June. The Tigers are almost 20 games over 500 and have the best record in baseball and still have a chance to take 3 of 4 from this team. The world is not over. The sky is not falling. All is okay. This just wasn't okay and just really sucked to watch. And like even the risk, like I'm complaining about, 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They've been fantastic with runners in scoring position up to this point this year. All is good. Just go win tomorrow. Let's talk about what went right. Brant Herter was absolutely phenomenal in this ballgame. 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, no earned runs. The 1 run, A, he wasn't even on the mound for. B, was because of an error. So doubly not his fault. 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, a 1.72 ERA on the season. His ability to go multiple innings almost, I don't want to say is a bad thing, because that's obviously not true. It's very much a good thing. But we need, with Holton struggling, especially kind of that high leverage lefty reliever. And I feel like Holton is just such a vital and important piece to be able to go multiple innings. Kind of like how I used to talk about Tyler Holton last season. To where you can't put him really in that one inning, just go get the ninth inning type of role, but a sub 1.75 ERA. He's been so good this year, and I feel like I almost haven't even given him enough credit on the show this year for how great he's been. He is almost unhittable against lefties, and the sweeper continues to be just an absolutely dynamic pitch in that regard. He's legitimately been one of the best relievers on this entire roster so far in 2025. So tip of the cap to him. Riley Greene as well had a really solid day at the plate, which not too many people in this ball game can say on the Tiger side of things. He goes 2 for 3 with a walk. And for all those out there who love to remind me and the rest of the fan base about Riley Greene's strikeout struggles, 0 strikeouts on the night for Riley Greene. I thought, seriously, he took some really good at-bats. The walk was my favorite at-bat or plate appearance, I guess, technically, because last season he walked at a really high clip. This year he's not. And I think that is, to me, like the big, almost like he's trying to do too much. He's trying to crush the ball every time he's in the batter's box. I need those walk numbers to get back to the point where they were last year. I need that, like I need air to breathe and water to drink. So hopefully that is something that maybe a sign of things to come for him going forward. Got a couple more things I want to point out on the side of things that went right. It was not all doom and gloom. Then we'll get into stuff and preview I was going to say the final game of this series, but it's not. It's a 4-game set. We'll preview game 3 right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at supplyhouse.com. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades. Supplyhouse.com. Whether into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources, and their latest product info can help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person every time. And for the trade pros that are looking for that extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in as always, even on a day where the Tigers get crushed by a bad baseball team. And I can't speak, apparently. I don't know what's happening. I feel like my mouth is full of like marshmallows. So I apologize for that. But we ball, even on days like this. We absolutely ball. Dylan Dingler, I want to give him some credit as well. I thought his at-bats the entire game were pretty solid. Obviously had the only RBI on the night. Caught a decent game behind the plate, I thought. But also, again, in that bases loaded situation, he smoked that baseball. And if that's, 2 feet to the right, you're talking about a completely different result and maybe conversation here and maybe even ball game. So, I want to give him his credit despite maybe the result in that plate appearance. Bo Brisky opened the ball game, 1 in the 3rd innings pitched, no hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. His ERA is now 4.64 on the season. Nice to see him just have a solid outing. Like he's another one, right? We talked about like with Brebbia in game 1. It's like it's really nice to just see him go out there and just have a nice, relatively low stress outing. He did have, the walk there, but I thought he looked pretty sharp, which is something we haven't been able to say too much about Bo. And we really need Bo Brisky to be what he was for the Tigers down the stretch last season, because we know it's within him. Obviously, he was one of the best, if not just the best reliever in the postseason for the Detroit Tigers. So important to get him going. Let's talk stuff. I think really the biggest thing that I am telling myself after this game is just I can really appreciate an AJ Hinch ball club because I know that this will not linger. And I know that, uh, that I'm not like guaranteeing wins or anything. They could go out and lose the next two, but like they have responded to losses so well this season. And ultimately, I mean, whether you want to hear it or not, or you think it's a lame excuse, the White Sox had probably the best player on their team on the mound. and you don't have to face him again the next 2 days. So hopefully the Tigers are able to just take care of business. You know what? You lost to Smith. Honestly, a handful of teams are going to do that this year. He's got a sub-2.5 ERA, and it's June. Hopefully they can just turn it around and get back on the horse tomorrow. Doesn't excuse the loss because you weren't able to produce runs against some suboptimal relievers there later. Certainly doesn't excuse the loss, but maybe, again, just am appreciative that this will not linger and this will not snowball into, 10 consecutive losses. That's at least a nice thing. Reese Olson gets an injection in his finger. Hopefully that helps him. It's supposed to help the inflammation on his ring finger. That's put him on the IL for a couple of weeks now. Hopefully that means he is back relatively soon. Want to give a shout out to Josh Harrison as well, man. Officially retires. Obviously, I think almost everybody knows him for his time in Pittsburgh. However, did have a short stint with your Detroit Tigers in the brutal first half. Well, the second half was really worse than the first half, but in the brutal season that was the 2019 Detroit Tigers. And you can play one game here, Tiger for life, as far as I'm concerned. So congratulations to Harrison on his retirement, and hopefully he can get whatever out of retirement he wants. And if that is staying in the game of baseball in some capacity, I'm sure plenty of organizations around the country would be very, very willing and would love the insight of Harrison. It was always just such a fun and good, solid ball player, man. Like just the definition of like when you think of, all right, that dude is just a ball player. You know what I mean? Kind of like not afraid to slide, get the jersey dirty. Not going to be super flashy with home runs or anything, but is going to put the ball in play really solid defense at up the middle at third base, like kind of moved around, just really, really fun player at his peak. And those early 2010s Pirates teams were an absolute blast for pretty much everybody. So congratulations on a great career, and best of luck in retirement to Josh Harrison. Game 3 against the Chicago White Sox. Sawyer Gibson-Long against TBD right now for the White Sox, but Sawyer Gibson-Long, just so beautiful. So happy to have him back. He has not started a Major League Baseball game in over 600 days. I am so pumped for him. Really good changeup before the injury. Solid fastball as well. Seeing if that's translated over. Was even showcasing some really good breaking stuff as well in that September call-up from 2 seasons ago. I'm curious to see what the corresponding move is. I think it makes a ton of sense for it to just be Dylan Smith. But when everybody is at full health, I think that there's a chance that maybe Sawyer Gibson-Long is more their go-to in terms of kind of like the role that Cater Montero has been filling in. Rather than Cater Montero. But I think that's a conversation. This is, again, his first start back in like 2 seasons. It's been a long road. I'm not expecting, him to go 7 shutout innings in game 1. It's probably going to be a relatively short leash. He's probably not going to go super deep into the ball game. Probably will give up some contact here and there. I just want to see that the stuff has translated over, and the rest will take care of itself long term. But this is the first step, a really important step. So happy for him to be back, a guy that just kind of everybody fell in love with before the injury. Go take 3 of 4 and forget this disaster, right? This was a really talented pitcher and some self-inflicted mistakes defensively. and you look up and it's 8-1. So the White Sox, believe it or not, they're going to win games the rest of the year. That they're going to win games against some pretty good teams even the rest of the season. So just go win the series and all is okay. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 3 against the White Sox in Chicago. I appreciate you all greatly. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.